What's up, everybody? We're here. Again, this is Zach. I'm the less intelligent, less good looking Matt, but I have way more tattoos. So I got some street credit over him. And as always, with Jordan Ryan today, we're going to be going over what I think as a coach is one of the toughest pieces of being a full time coach is scheduling a throwing routine. Whether you're a pitcher or a position guy, being able to identify when a guy should throw, how much he should throw. I think is super difficult, especially with our program and our arm care monitoring system. These guys, Jordan and Ryan, have made it super simple. So today we're going to kind of break down our recommendations and how our arm care program can not only simplify it, but also help each of your pitchers, each of your throwing athletes to be better at that time of throwing. So what you'll see on the screen right here is the 5-day rotation that Jordan Ryan have used and are using with our arm care program. So we're just going to kind of start off, guys. What are we looking at right here? So this is our 5-day rotation. So Jordan, what is the purpose of what we're looking at right here? Who's this for and how is this working?
Yeah, so a general rotation, whether it's a 5-day or a 7-day, those 7 days is going to be more designed towards a high school and college athlete. 5 days is going to be more towards your professional athlete, and some of those college summer leagues as well will go on 5 days rotation. But they're to give you a structure and a skeleton of how to actually design your development on a day-to-day basis. Too often, I see guys, they just kind of wing it and they go, well, I think I'm going to do this today. I think I'm going to do that. They don't really have a plan. So having a 5 or a 7-day rotation or a 72-hour routine, if you're a reliever, which we go over all of this in our data-driven throwing programs course, this is pulled directly from there. We want to give you guys a little information on how to structure your own system out. But it gives you a skeleton of how to push and move your development. You'll notice we left lifting blank on this. Not everybody's ready for lifting. Maybe they only want to do the custom arm care. Maybe they already have a system they're running. But we go over more in depth, like I said, in that coursework specifically to kind of pair into there how you want to do your lifting as well. So, Ryan, do you want to add anything in on that?
The way that we have the schedule, you have to have the right blend. One of the things that, Jordan and I, we work together with a bunch of athletes is how to piece all the elements together. And you do have to have a plan. But the biggest element, I think, for it is to ensure that you understand recovery, right? Like Jordan and I are always focused on not just the training plan, right? And most people go first to the programming. And that's not where you want to head into. You want to first understand in the schedule, where am I giving my pitchers, particularly in position players, where am I giving them recovery? Because there's a lot of orders of operation.
Ryan, you muted yourself.
Ryan, you need to unmute your mic.
Man, you sounded. I bet whatever you just said though was real good.
I'm not sure. Yeah,
now
I'm
you're
not sure
good.
What happened there.
There it is.
If you might have missed most of this, what I'm trying to tell you is that when you have a plan, you got to make sure you focus on recovery. Okay, recovery is the key, because if you have all these different activities, you can see on the left side of activities, I mean, there's a lot there, and the order is appropriate. Activating, doing your throwing program, doing your drill work, getting to your more high intensity throwing, and then you got your lifting. Okay, and actually you'd be doing your arm care testing and arm first, but you have the opportunity to ensure that you're maximizing throwing performance. I mean, I see it all the time. People who put a very heavy lift after when a pitcher throws, okay, and they've had a very high intense load on the nervous system in games, and then the next day it's like, yeah, let's crush a lower body lift, let's kill these guys, right? And then all of a sudden the adrenaline spiked again, all right, and these guys are in another state of like fight or flight, and then all of a sudden they put the bullpen on day 2, right? So now you go high intensity game, you go high intensity training, then you go high intensity practice, and you wonder why we got injuries, right? So we have to understand first when we create a schedule, and this is what this paradigm gives us, is to where we place our recovery.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
And you're blending all these elements. That's what I think, the course is all about. And Jordan and I have been doing this a long time, and we've been
Perfect.
looking at a lot of things that work and don't work. And God bless the Angels. Jordan and I were both there as the most injured team in Major League Baseball. We got to see a lot. What really, we killed a lot of players, unfortunately. Just going to tell you, we understand things based on failure. We're not saying, hey, this worked. We had to look at like, what isn't working?
There you go.
Why are we stacking these three hard elements all together and blasting players' arms, right? We had the strength data to match. This is what you're getting in these courses. So that's the end of my rant. Sorry that my mute came on for some reason.
I love you got excited. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, let's break it down. So it's pretty simple. So this is for one single player. So you give this to Jimmy. Jimmy, this is going to be your 5-day rotation. All right. So pitching in the game with team or on your own. All right. So you're going to go through a mid to a long toss, optional drills, pregame bullpen. And this, as everyone can see, it shows our arm primer. So if someone doesn't have our arm care system, they'll probably be like, what is an arm care primer? They don't know what that is. So and Jordan, you can express on this. If I'm a pitcher and I'm going through this, like, man, this looks great. This is exactly what I want. And I get to arm primer and I don't have the arm care system. What is our arm care programming going to do? That's going to affect the difference between if we took out that arm care testing, arm care training. If you don't have that, and I'm just someone who's going up to that lifting program, what differences will our program make for this 5-day rotation specific?
Yeah, it's a good question. So what kind of sets it apart is obviously it's just this little sensor right here. You can kind of see that blended in with my shirt a little. But the arm primer is a straight lever test. It takes like 47 seconds when you put it on a stopwatch to do the whole thing. And after you've done 3, 4, 5 of them, 6 of them, the more you do, the more accurate the data is going to give you. It literally says increase your throwing, stay the same, or decrease. It tells you exactly how to move forward.
Exactly.
Yeah, it just gives it to you right away.
Yeah,
and it will just say, yeah, so it's not even how you're feeling. So we're not looking at feel, we're looking at real tangible data. Because I've had plenty of days where I feel like crap, but then I do my strength test and it turns out I'm actually pretty good. And I have seen this with other athletes as well, to where they go, oh, I thought that I was going to be worse, but I'm actually pretty good. I can spend a little more time activating. Or they just kind of feel okay. Or the other way, or the way around too, where they actually need to deload on that throw.
I'm feeling good. Yeah, I'm feeling good, coach. No, I got this. All right, do your test, and all of a sudden strength's down.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where that arm primer and that fresh exam play off of each other. If you don't mind flipping over to that next screen, I know we have the other example there. And this just gives you a little bit more template. It's like you want to activate. You obviously can't see what my mouse is doing, but you want to go to number 1. You want to activate. That's your arm activation. That's your arm primer. And then you want to assess. You want to do your fresh exam. That's your daily check-in. How's your arm, your body? How did you sleep? All those things are going to impact number 3, you're throwing in your bullpen. And it's very simple. If you're blue, awesome. If you're yellow, follow the yellow dot. If you're purple, follow the purple dots. So we laid this out to be very simple, and it becomes just second nature for you guys to run through all these things on here to make sure you understand how to adjust. We also have how to adjust your bullpens over there on the left. It's just a quick overview of that. Again, this is going to be based on your arm strength data. We're more in depth on this now with our customized pitch counts. So make sure you're looking at this stuff when you're doing it. I know I got a little long-winded there before my mic mutes, but
I like it though. So Ryan, if I have a pitcher, and I think Jordan, you said that great. I'm like, hey, I'm feeling good, coach. I threw a little bit yesterday. I had no issues. I'm feeling strong. So, and what could happen as you've seen, like you said, the Angels, how many guys did you get coming? Like, I'm feeling good. I have no issues whatsoever. They don't activate. They don't assess. And then they go right to their throwing and bullpen based on how they think they feel without an actual physical assessment. What have you seen versus people who do go through? Give us some example of both that you've seen.
I love this.
Can you go back one screen also, Zach?
Sure can.
Thank you.
What you feel is not real. Okay.
That's a coffee mug.
There's subjective elements and there's objective. Your nervous system is not like, doing a sprint for 200 yards, right? Where everything's burning, you definitely can sense fatigue. Okay. Your nervous system, let's just say, hey, it's a Sunday getaway game. you decide that you're going to leave at, I don't know, 9 o'clock. You give the team a lot of time with their families or friends, whatever it may be, and then they get on a plane and they get in at 3, they got broken sleep. Guy wakes up the next day, you got one of those weird, like kids day, you're playing at 12 o'clock noon. And the guy's like, yeah, of course, young reliever. I'm totally fired up. Just got called up. I want to play in this game. And, the thing is that your nervous system doesn't respond like your metabolic system. You don't have the lactic acid in those things. That lack of sleep, the brokenness, changes in adrenaline, that's going to affect your strength. So yeah, of course, I'm highly motivated. My brain's going to override my body, always top down. And then, you go to test them and you go like, whoa, this doesn't look very good. You are not activating your muscles really well. Okay. And you've got running data. You can probably see your arm isn't recovered. They might have thrown 2 days ago, on the flip side, you get a guy comes in is like, they obviously, when we do our questions, they're at the beginning. But you'll notice a lot of players after the warm-up, after doing the arm primer, after doing the fresh exam, they start feeling good. So that's one. Okay. You start seeing the guy that comes in really down on the way he feels. He gets the arm primer done. His arm strength is really good. So his nervous system gets charged up again. And you show him the data and you tell him, man, your arm's in a good place. Okay. You flip the switch on the kid's brain. You start getting it, like, confidence is contagious. I've been hearing this a lot lately. And, once they get on that streak of like, hey, I feel good now. My arm is good. I trust myself, especially with an injured player, guy who's kind of gun shy, a couple strains in his, in the year. And he's, had a couple weeks off of competing. He might be a little, whoa, coach, I'm not feeling great today, but then he does it. And he's like, okay, I'm in a good place. And you can flip a guy, and change your entire mentality to get hungry.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's huge.
Yeah, people
never
people
think of the mental side that
this
this could help with. People who aren't sure of themselves, but now they know that their strength is there. You are good. You are not gonna. There's got that lesser chance of any sort of issue, and then right then that confidence helps tremendously, especially in baseball.
There's form and function. Okay, and you're not going to catch fatigue. Like, a lot of people are looking at the delivery and they're saying, you're throwing really well right now, consistent, repeatable. They're looking at all the metrics, release points the same, which obviously I can alter with my body, right? So they're looking at form, spin and all this other stuff. What's happening is that those are all byproducts of movement, but the basis is the function. And that's something we got to get into a routine of testing. Our athletes, the ones, Jordan and I, we establish with other people a very comprehensive performance pod, generally through text. And the important thing is keeping the communication lines open, getting the athletes to inform us of their data. Let them drive. Let them drive. We got to let the athletes drive. And then we can manipulate a plan like this. We lay this out. This is an example. Okay. But the key is that we don't want a square peg fitting in a round hole. We're not trying to make them fit our plan. Our plan has to adapt. And again, if we're only looking at form, the biomechanical data and all the stuff that I don't believe in, and truly being the prevention cure for injuries. And
you're also a PhD in what, Ryan?
What's that?
What's your PhD in?
I have a dual one, so it's biomechanics and exercise physiology. I'm
letting people know, since you said you don't like the biomechanics, I want to make sure they understand what your PhD is in.
I think biomechanics, fantastic for performance. Okay, you definitely can optimize biomechanics to throw hard. People think it also is an effect on command, but remember, fatigue is going to affect all that form. The pitcher you see in the bullpen or in the lab is not the one you're going to see on the field with adrenaline and a batter and, runner on second base. And, it's just not the same. The function is really key. The function is really key. We take away function, we stop testing, We don't plan rest in our days. You do the day 2 bullpen, the heavy lift, and everybody gets cranked up and excited for the day after pitching 120
yeah.
pitches. We got some clients in college that are throwing over 120, and that's great. But now we're seeing their arm, and we're like, whoa, we got to fix this, right?
That's real.
The plan. But the thing is we have to be adjustable to this element.
I like
and bringing it back to Zach. Our eyes are not going to tell us, and the kid's brain is not really going to tell us. And a lot of them are masking pain because guess what? They're inherently people pleasers. In my experience, the athletes that are less selfish about self-care are doomed. That's the noose on the arm because it's like, hey, coach, I'm there for you. And his arm feels like he could saw it off. It hurts so bad.
Yeah.
And then
real quick to kind of hop on that too, though, is what I want guys to notice is on the throwing program, if you don't mind kind of running your mouse over the throwing program and then bullpen there, is you see it's like there's optional days, there's time ranges, there's distance ranges, mid to long toss, there's pitch ranges on those bullpen days. There's a reason for that. And if you scroll forward to the next slide now on that next screen, is if you're blue, you can go more on the high side of things. You want the extra reps. You want to build volume on that day. If you're yellow, you want to do less. If you're purple, you may want to push that bullpen altogether. Maybe skip it. Maybe don't do any high intensity throws in between that because your goal is to be back to a full gas tank on day 5. You're going to have to adjust. Ideally, you're back to a full gas tank by that day 3 bullpen to make sure you're ready to go. But then to go even deeper on this, not just wanting to stay healthy, but wanting to perform at a high level, maybe you use a product like Pitch Logic to help with your pitch development. Well, if your arm primer saying reduce throwing volume, it's probably not a good day to go real heavy on the pitch development because your central nervous system, your peripheral nervous system, something's fatigued and you're not going to wire in a good ability to throw that new slider or work on a split finger or work on your elevated fastball or sinkers on the arm side. You're fatigued. It's not a good day to do that. On the other side, if you're seeing a bunch of blue, let's work on that pitch development. Bust out the Pitch Logic, connect it to your phone, utilize tech. Make sure you're taking those things so you know when you can push harder and know when you have to throttle back. We're trying to maximize development reps.
I want to say something too as we're on this. The best part is we're not getting any questions, so people are really agreeing with what we're saying here. Here's the thing: we do not own our pitchers. We don't. The ones that I consult for, they have other coaches. They got other teams, right? You would be very hard pressed when a parent is they're paying for your team for competition. They also have, a pitching master, a guru on the side. None of this stuff is matching up. Like if a parent's in there and they're like, okay, I'm taking my son for a, pitching lesson per se. And the bullpen comes around, this kid could be stacking up a lot of work in season that the guru is not talking to the coach who's not talking, and this schedule gets all fuddled up. Okay. So now the kid might be doing 2 or 3 bullpens a week. And when you're actually clicking them off, he might have an 80 pitch pen because he's working on different pitches. This is where you need to monitor your arm. Okay.
That's huge.
I don't like, I just put out something on LinkedIn that velocity itself only predicts less than 4% of Tommy John surgeries at the major league level. Let me say it again. Velo has actually explained only 4% of the injuries we see in Tommy John at the MLB level. That means, that there's, 96% of something else. And the reason being, it's all these hidden workloads. It's all and it all comes down to throwing arm fatigue. And if you're blinded to it, and if the player, this is the thing, that's why I'm saying player informed, the coaches, I know they're beautiful, they're smart, they're on here, but you're not driving the process. The player is not, you do not own your player. Your player is, and even in your organization, like if they're going to a specialized baseball development center, you don't own them either. Jordan doesn't own them. I don't own them. The player has to be in command and understand that they're evaluating their throwing arms and they're letting everybody know, hey, I'm going to my pitching guru today. This guy wants me to work on a forkball split finger combo, and I'm going to be throwing about 80 pitches in this bullpen, and 2 days later from now, I'm the starter on a Friday game. Okay. The player
if you're
has to
not
go in and say,
monitoring
hey, I
that.
got a plan. My arm, hey, my arm's really good today. Okay. Or I need to pull back. And when he goes to the team after that bullpen, he does a post exam and he's fatigued. He's got to go and test on game day. And he's got to tell the coach, I just had a massive pitch development session and I trust my guy over there because I want to help you win. So now I've got command of this pitch, but I got to test before. And then, you're thinking high day every day. You're thinking I'm going all out every day until the data is telling you otherwise. Then you adjust,
Yep. And everyone's different. Jordan, you're coaching right now. You've coached so many levels. Right now you're coaching high school ball, and you guys have been saying adjustability. You need to be able to adjust this. And Jordan, you harped on like, hey, on that day 3, you do not have to throw 25 pitches based on your score. You can adjust that. And Ryan, you're saying these kids need to be transparent with their coaches and vice versa, but every kid is so different. So you got those slappies out there who think they're not good, but they are. And you got the studs out there who aren't good but claim that they are. And you got the kids out there like, oh no, I can't go today, but they are really good. So you have so many different kids. And Ryan, like you were saying, like you have Jimmy who's trying to work on his forkball, throwing 80 pitches, and then you got Slappy Johnny over here who doesn't do anything. And so having them on that same schedule is going to be difficult. But Jordan, as you were saying, if you have Slappy Johnny and Stud Joseph who are doing totally separate things with this arm primer, what kind of different effects are you going to see as a coach? If you see Slappy Johnny and Stud Joseph, what is this arm primer going to be different for them versus one coach who just gives them all the same, everyone's doing the same thing because this is all I know, versus individualizing this pitcher's count?
Yeah, real quick, we have a question from Smith Ryan 52 on Instagram, and he's asking about using it for collegiate javelin throwers. So we have some javelin throwers that use this. I don't know the exact numbers on it, but you can use it for a group as well. He's asking. So one sensor does work with an unlimited amount of players. So most of the universities, I don't know about from the college javelin side of things. You're gonna have to. I don't know. I'm not a javelin guy. But from the college team standpoint, they're getting anywhere from like 5 to 7 sensors, and then everybody's got an account, and that 5 to 7 sensors is usually enough to cover that full team for a pitching staff of 18 to 22 guys. So your mileage may vary on the javelin side of things, but yes, we do have javelin throwers using this to help monitor how many practice reps they're getting in a day, and then to make sure they're always recovered. Because you don't get. If I was still playing, I'm starting every 5th day. I might get 100, 110, 115 pitches. You don't really get 115 javelin throws when it comes down to your competition. It's like, hey, best one's going to win. To my understanding, maybe 3 throws or something. So you want to make sure that on that javelin competition day, you're back to full strength. Long story short, yes, we do have people using it for javelin. Email Ryan at armcare.com to get more information on that. Realistically,
I'm working with a javelin player.
Yeah.
While I'm home.
Email Ryan at armcare.com. Email him. He'll give you his cell phone number, and then you guys can just chat up all you want on javelin tosses because I don't know what's going on with it.
I don't want to go off tangent, but the first ever presentation of an ulnar collateral ligament rupture, the beginning of Tommy John understanding, was in 1946, and it was a javelin study. They're the ones who've shown us what happens to the elbow. So if there are people out there that are in the track and field world that are watching this, we went to a school, I'm not going to name the name, but every single javelin thrower had Tommy John surgery. Remember, Jordan, we went there and it was like mind boggling. Yeah. Every single one of them. And like, it's not like you got a farm team. You can start bringing up people to throw the javelin. They're probably trying to train the person to throw with their other hand because or else they're not going to qualify for anything at a Division I level. It was like, wow. So, if you are in javelin, this is something you 100% need because you're not calling anybody up.
There you go. Individualizing programming, I think, is huge. Kind of like you got someone's doing something every different day. And if everyone is doing the exact same routine with zero intel on their strength, I feel like bad things are going to happen. But even position players, I know they're not pitchers. They're not exerting all that energy right out, like working on angles, different stuff like that. But even as a position player, Ryan, can this is, I mean, you need to have some sort of schedule. You can't just go out there willy nilly. You need to have some sort of be on something like this as well, correct?
Oh man, like with position player programs, so a lot of our guys are two-way. We have a lot,
Mm-hmm.
in college and upper level high school. They still, some of them, they don't know if they're going to be drafted as a position player or a pitcher. You have to have a process for keeping those arms healthy, especially catchers. Catchers, there was a study I was a part of that we researched every single Tommy John trend. Okay, and catchers, only 56% of them actually come back. Okay. Like, yes. And probably even less that get to a level of their earlier state of performance or better. I've worked with some catchers that have had Tommy John surgery. It's very complicated because they're throwing more than anybody. Okay. So the thing is, we got to test these. For me, like one of the key elements of creating a schedule, and I believe we have it in our data-led throwing programs course. 100% we have it in our bulletproof data-led adjustments for throwing programs. Position players for me, especially in season, I like testing Mondays. Most leagues, especially college summer ball, there's a lot of them where Mondays are off. So you want to really set the stage for the week to say, hey, I just had all this competitive load on my athlete. What's his arm strength looking like, in the toughest state? And then you're going to know how am I setting up my week? Because do I have to test this athlete more often? Obviously we cannot have the athlete have a heavy upper body lift within 24 hours of a test. That will fry them. That's why usually Sunday is a getaway day and position players don't train. And so you can catch them on a Monday. But that tells you if my position player is lacking, I have to manage their arm care training. And, for somebody that really looks fatigued, we got alerts on things. I would be testing them at least a couple times a week to see where their arm's at. If you got the two-way guy, you're testing them anytime they touch a mound. But I also recommend if they don't have a mound for a little while and you get them on that Monday, where you're starting your week and you have a good concept because they might play Tuesday in the field. We have there's a couple little like elements of position players, and we're dealing with this right now. We got a really, high level two-way guy, first baseman, hitter, who's in a good college summer league, and he plays first base, thank God, but it's concentrated. He'll DH, play first, and then all of a sudden he'll come into relief pitch, off the bench when they need it. And you got to be ready. You have to be ready and you need to manage it.
Love that. Position players as well. I'm a shortstop guy, so I make sure I get my infielders in on this. Don't leave us out, the real athletes. Okay, so I have a question. This might be for whoever wants to answer it. I'm a position guy versus a pitcher. So pitcher is fatigued. He goes through an arm care. We're going to assume everyone's got arm care now because I think we do a good job of explaining why you should have it during this. So I do my arm care exam, or actually let's take it out of there. If a fatigued pitcher who's going in to throw versus a fatigued position player, obviously position based. I mean, if you're outfield versus short, catcher, first base, is the threat of an injury for a position player versus the threat of a pitcher the same, being a fatigued state? Tough question.
I mean, for me, 100%. Yeah, I mean, that's why you got to manage them. You got to manage the programming. A lot of times the fatigue happens because nobody does arm care with position players. It's just straight, let's get them bigger, faster, stronger. And, they don't throw a lot, but that's one of the biggest issues. And understanding how to recover those guys, generally with catchers, at least at the pro level, day games, they take out their stud and you kind of got the backup to do things, but you need to understand when that arm's really plummeting, you have to give the athlete, a break. Like catching is a risky position. It's basically catching outfield than infield.
Gotcha.
Okay. If you're blessed to have a utility player who also is a pitcher, then you can bring him in. Maybe you play second base. You shorten up a little bit more of those throws. Or first, we got a guy plays first, which is just a blessing. for his arm. But I think you got to manage them as well, and you're going to notice the throwing load on position players is it's again not giving them recovery, but it's a training problem. So the off season, making sure that you have a maintenance of arm strength and actually push it, and then in season you don't abandon it. You should make it the beginning of the program, so that the guys really focus and say, hey, this is important to me. I'm not going to go and bench, deadlift, do 16 million box jumps, and at the end I'll do it when I'm gassed. That's really, really important. But the other thing is scaling the throwing programs, just like a pitcher. I mean, I see it all the time. In pro ball, you go and watch pitchers throw in spring training or like prior to games. The pitching coach is on them. They're looking at their feet. They're looking at, the delivery. They're walking up and down. They're talking to guys, tempo, what they're working on. Position players, you got like some position coach who's got a bat, a fungo, and he's sitting on it talking to some other guy. And the position players are throwing like water balloons for 8 minutes. And you wonder why it's shocking their arm is that they don't have capacity. So you got to create a plan for position players, if they're exclusively position players, that they have high, medium, and low days to recover their arms. And that you understand on the high days, maybe that's another time where you do a fresh and a post exam. Hey, how's my guy responding? We're having them like, game throws. My outfielders are throwing 225 to 250, and I'm getting them to throw to a hat or a cone in front of them on a long hop. I want to be able to understand before I go in, is my guy ready for that today?
Mm-hmm.
What do we got to do to prepare him?
Gotcha. Okay. I love that. So Jordan, I'm a coach. Where am I getting this information? We talked a whole lot. I mean, unless someone's got notes ripping right now, there's a lot going in through this schedule. If I'm a coach, I'm like, I want to get my kids on a program, pitchers, especially I want to get them on a rotation that is going to help them prevent fatigue at their best. How can we get this out to the public? If I'm a coach, I'm watching this, how can I get what's on here right now?
Easy starting point is if you go to our YouTube. Some guys are watching on YouTube. Obviously, a lot of them are watching on Twitter, X, whatever it's called these days. If they go to our YouTube, they're going to find over 100 hours of free information. Once they feel that they have a good understanding and they've digested that, that's where you want to start diving into that coursework. So all those courseworks, and you go to our course page, we have the specialist courses and then the biomechanics courses, which are going to be very, very in-depth. I would start with the mini courses and look through those first, because each one of those is going to layer on top of each other. None of them is really repeating any information, but start with that free stuff that we've already given you guys, over 100 hours. Like I said, go to YouTube, start scrolling through all of our video playlists, go look at our podcasts with, major leaguers, major league coaches, performance coaches, all these other aspects on how to best utilize this information. Then start looking into the mini courses and start diving into which one you think is going to help you out.
Perfect. And as a player, Ryan, if I'm a player, I get YouTube, same thing. Am I going to need to go as in depth with these courses? But as a player, am I just needing to go through, get that arm care product? And then is this going to be able to walk me through once I get that product? Is it going to be telling me my fresh primer, how I'm feeling, my reports? Is that the best step for a player?
Yeah. You're going to get all the data, and you'll get a lot without, we produce a PDF every time you test, and it's really detailed, but even off the app, it's just going to be so intuitive for them. But again, here's the thing, coaches, if you really want to be exceptional, you get an organizational package from us. You get the dashboard. Okay. You got the technology, you got the premium accounts. So they're doing pre and post. You're seeing how they fatigue after. The athlete may not be forthcoming. If you just leave it to the athlete, they buy their own, so it's a good thing to have the dash so that you can open it up each day, or on the coach's app, you can pull guys up while you're on the bus, or, and you can have those conversations. Hey man, like today we have our hard throwing day. I'm going to back us down a little bit. I want to save your arm for the game, talking to the strength coach. Hey, Johnny, have you seen, he's got an internal rotation imbalance, or maybe doing too much bench pressing, or vertical pulling. Can we scale that? Let's fix arms. And but for the position player who is not really, there's not an organizational connection. What I am really, and if they're listening, I'm really stressing is that you are going to be data led. Okay. But you have to inform your coaches. You have to let them know, because nobody's making an adjustment. Okay. Unless you're a major league player, but nobody's making an adjustment with a very structured throwing program unless you say something. And if you got the data and you say, hey man, I'm seeing a ton of purple right now, and I'm about to go and whale on it, I got to pull down from 300 feet or whatever it may be, things need to be scaled, right? You need to talk to coach. I need a new throwing partner today. Is there anybody I can throw short with, inside 90? Just want to get my arm loose. I got to save my arm for the game because it's pretty fatigued. And then, and then the coach says, oh man, I had a moderate day tomorrow. Maybe we just do another light day. We test you again. Let's see how it's coming along, so you can manage it. So
Gotcha.
It's easy for everybody. I mean, we got people that don't even speak English using the app.
I love
not a
that.
problem.
That's easy. All right, Jordan, closing statement. This 5-day rotation with and without arm care product, give me what's going to give that edge, the final saying. If I'm still on the edge about, am I getting arm care? I can probably pull this off without the arm care. Give me what's going to push that to make sure everyone understands the importance of the arm care prior and arm care system with the pitching rotation.
And this is going to make everybody mad, because this is what we get our biggest complaints on. Not everybody. It's probably like a less than a percentage of people that are angry that people are staying healthy on our system right now. But we're at about 40,000 users, roughly 40 to 45,000, somewhere in there. 2 reported surgeries. Of those reported surgeries, one of them, I don't think there's anything we would have done to prevent it. Even if you're using the crosswalk, you're still going to get hit by a car on occasion, right? You're still taking precautions. One of them was because he was just embarrassed to test. To my understanding, those are the 2 that have reported it using the system the way that it's designed to be used, for the most part. Roughly 40 to 45,000. That's using it. That's using the system. Without using the system, it's about 53% of athletes are going to get injured over the course of a season. Or is it 51%, Ryan?
Yeah, it's
50
high.
to 53%. You have better chances on a coin flip when it comes down to it by not using the system. So that I think that sums it up, and it's really going to make some people mad. I go back and forth. We're the moderators on that College and Showcase Baseball. People get so upset that we want to balance shoulders out, that we want to throw less when we're tired, like tangibly tired, throw more when we're not, and allocate development reps with some actual reasoning behind them. It absolutely makes people angry, and they just keep going, why don't we want to do this like it was back in the 90s? And I actually put a post on there today, and now I'm going down a rabbit hole, but we're going to do it. Is I put a post out there today, and I said, well, in the 90s, we were also told you can't make a ball club if you're sitting in the tub. Don't go to the training room. Amphetamines were still rampant, and people were using steroids. And so one interesting thing there, and one interesting thing there is if you're not going to the trainer because you're hurt and they know that you're going to get released if you're hurt, you're not going to say you're hurt. Number 2, amphetamines, plenty of research out there, dull your pain response. They make you more resilient to pain. Steroids also make you more resilient to pain. They also make you recover a little faster. They also have shown in some instances to heal things such as ACLs. So there's a whole lot of things that it may not have just been one simple thing. Like we can't go back to training guys like it was the 90s, because you can't take steroids. You can't take amphetamines. I would highly recommend you don't do those things. Personally, I would prefer you just kind of monitor your arm strength, allocate your reps accordingly, and make sure you're taking care of yourself on a day-to-day basis. So we're comparing, not even apples and oranges. It's like apples and like a dragon fruit. There's 2 very different things here. So Ryan, hopefully that makes sense. You want to add anything in there on my semi-rant to end this off?
I think you nailed it, man.
I nailed it. And next podcast is why 90s baseball was awesome.
Hey, it was great. Yeah, like there's that SNL skit on the all drug Olympics. You guys should go look that one up. So it's obviously a joke, but yeah, basically the same thing.
Man, yeah, that was fun. The baseball went really far in those days. That was cool. I love that. Awesome. Alrighty. Well, very cool, guys. I appreciate you always giving the insight of how this works and a little more in depth. There's so much information at our site. And we stress the quality of our support. So people out there, if you like something, didn't like something, shoot something at support. Put these guys to the test. See if they know what they're talking about. We'd love to hear questions. And if anyone needs anything, reach out anytime. Next week, Tuesday, about the same time, we're gonna be doing another one of these. So if you like them, share them. Reach out, ask questions. But otherwise, next Tuesday we'll get another one going.
See you guys.
All right, appreciate you guys.